Well, what a week, hey? This has to be one of the most dense weeks of Wargaming screwing up ever. I think this week may have contained more Wargaming mistakes than the entire first year of the game. I'm not sure, but I'm just guessing. This is pretty insane. So, the biggest thing, though, of course, is all of these CCs leaving the CC program. And I wanted to make a video talking about my thoughts on this. And there's a few reasons for that, but we'll get into those later. So, for those of you who don't know what happened, Little White Mouse, of course, a very well-known CC, probably the best CC Wargaming had out of anyone. She made reviews of ships on the forums, and incredibly detailed and just the most knowledgeable, in-depth reviews you've ever seen. And honestly, I reference them all the time when I needed to know about the stats and the differences between a ship compared to its same counterparts at its tier, that kind of thing. There was just so much information. It was such a great place to go because you just go to her forum posts and you just search up the ship you want to know about, and all the information was there. It was a great, easy to read, easily digestible, great graphs, visual way of understanding what a ship is like. So what happened was Wargaming trampled on her one too many times. I am honestly shocked that it took her this long to leave the program. I thought after the Yukon disaster, and even before that, they were just not playing right by her at all. But I thought she would have left way sooner, but now finally she's done it, and honestly, I think that is probably the best thing she could have done, because there's no way this is good for your mental health or anything like that, because this is a passion for someone like Little White Mouse especially, and I'll talk a little bit about that later, but just think about how a YouTuber or a Twitch streamer is able to make money through ads. Well, someone who's posting on the forums isn't making money that way. She does have a Patreon, but yeah, I don't think that's quite as much as some of these ad revenue things are like on Twitch and on YouTube. So Wargaming just don't respect their content creators. They don't respect the community at all. It's very obvious at this point. But after the Yukon disaster, as usual, blaming it on communication and then promising to do better. But of course, promises are pretty empty after a certain point of you constantly breaking them. So as we're all told in the little kids' cartoons and fairy tales, actions speak louder than words. You need to do something when you've messed up. You can't just say, I'm sorry. You need to follow it up with some action to prove that you actually are wanting to change. So for Little White Mouse, the action she was looking for from Wargaming was adding a camo that she and Shibitsu worked on for this Yukon project, or I think it was for the Yukon, but one of the projects they were working on a camo, and Wargaming didn't add it to the game, and now she was looking for them to add it to the game, not to demand like, oh, I need this camo because she wants a camo in the game. No, she's looking for a way for Wargaming to show that they're committed to actually respecting the work she puts in and the content she's making. And of course, Wargaming said, no way, we're not doing that. So again, their words are quite empty at this point. There's no action behind them at all. So that's why she is now left. I will link her forum post, or might be easier to link the Reddit below, but I'm sure you guys have all seen it already. If you haven't at this point, it's all over Reddit. So the amount of time and effort she puts into things is just not being respected, and it's a good thing that she decided to leave for herself. This is a really massive blow, though, for the community and for Wargaming. This is easily their best content creator for the entire game that has decided to be done. And that is a huge blow, and because of that, a lot of the other community contributors have shown their support by leaving as well, which is a really awesome way of demonstrating their support. Actions speak louder than words. They're actually willing to put into action that they support Little White Mouse, something that Wargaming is incapable of doing. So this is a really good thing to see. I'm sure you have seen the list, but As of researching and scripting this video, iChase, Flambast, Jingles, Mr. G, Yuzrel, Chaos Machine, Clyde the Monkey, there's a whole bunch of them that have decided to leave the CC program, and that is huge. And for them to do that, that is a really cool way of showing the support, and not the easiest thing to do. Of course, you can just say that the CC program doesn't really mean anything anymore, but in fact, it did still have some value. It wasn't just about getting early access to ships and putting out early videos. There were other ways that the CC program was very valuable to someone who makes content. And I'm saying that as someone who was never allowed in, who wanted in at one point in time. I was looking to really get into it because it does help your content grow quite a lot. But unfortunately, Wargaming did remove the ability to make videos on ships before they're released. And personally, I'm counting early access as released because anyone in the game with a credit card can get access to these ships. So that is technically released, and probably the worst way of releasing it too, where there's no reviews on these things, and people who are just going to buy them regardless, or people who are excited but don't know what the ship's about, they might be more inclined to gamble for them in all these loot boxes. It's really sad how Wargaming has essentially locked everything premium in the game behind a loot box now, where back in the day, and even a couple years ago, it was more along the lines of you knew the final price of an in-game item and you could decide if that price was worth spending or not. And there was a lot more items you could actually earn for yourself. There's less of this just spend money and gamble for it and you hope you get it, which is really, really sad to see the direction they've gone, especially for a game that I believe in Europe with the PEGI rating system, this is rated for ages 7 and up, even though there's literally gambling in this game. And then there's the whole problem of some of these weeb integrations where there's some characters who look like children who are basically dressed in no clothing visible in a game like this. That is maybe not for ages 7 and up, and I would argue not for anyone. I think children should not be dressed like that, even if it's a cartoon. That's just too far down and too far close to basically pedophile cartoons. So I have some pretty strong opinions on that, but I do believe that. I think that should not be in the game, along with the gambling. I think that is just horrible, horrible, horrible practices. But anyways, on to the CC program value. I'm getting a little off topic here. I do want to say that the CC program does have some value still, and just to show that the community contributors, especially some of the smaller ones, are actually giving stuff up. They're actually sacrificing to be supportive of Little White Mouse and the other content creators who are leaving. I think the CC program has, at least in the past, provided some value based on Wargaming signing off on your content. I know this is not for everyone, and people are saying nowadays that if you're a CC, I won't watch you, but it has been in the past where some people, understandably so, their logic goes, well, if you're not a CC, well, there must be something wrong with the content you're doing, otherwise Wargaming would have you as a CC, right? So therefore they will just watch these CCs and that is it. So it used to provide that value. I will, after this week, probably not at all. It's probably flipped to be the opposite, which I don't think should necessarily be the case either, but we'll get into some of the harassment of people who are currently staying as a CC later. But it did provide some of that value. So the other thing the CC program does is it does still give you early access to these ships, even if you can't make videos until a certain point. This still helps you grow and build your channel, even if it's not as much as before, because releasing a video on the day that that content gets released into the game, people are going to be looking for it on YouTube. And well, it's hard to make a video when something gets released that day and you only get access to it that day, right? So it does help a little bit for sure. Not as much as before, you know, being able to make the videos even before things released to the public, but it is still something. And the reason I say this is I've personally noticed this one time when I was the first person-ish to making a video about something coming into the game, and that was the super battleships. The PTS videos that I did there, I think were one of the first ones on YouTube about that, and that was something people were interested in. It was, well, we don't really know what they're going to be like. And so those videos were easily some of the fastest growing videos that I've ever put out. So there's a huge advantage to someone who wants to make content on a game to have early access and to be able to put out a video at the same time as everyone else or be first to something. It's given me a little bit of perspective on why sometimes the news and journalism stuff is all so quickly done and not maybe the best researched. There's just so much incentive to be first, and you make money on this a lot of the time. That's the thing, is you get greedy and you want more money. Well, you release something sooner and sooner. So that's kind of, I don't want to get into the whole news cycle, right? This is definitely not politics, but I can understand why some of the news is not so accurate these days because of that. Now, the other thing the CC program does is it gives you extra community drops and giveaways. I don't think this is the main reason people watch streamers for the drops that it gives. I know the CC crates can be pretty decent, but I think the majority of the time people are watching for other reasons. But it is a nice bonus. And of course, when you do hit a large milestone, something like 10,000 followers, subscribers, 100,000 subscribers, like Flamu and Euro and a couple other creators actually have on YouTube, which is so awesome, they'll give ships that you can give away, a giant giveaway. I'm sure you saw Flamu's huge 100K celebration giveaway, which was so cool. And personally, more recently, I've seen my friend Maltese Knight get to 10,000 Twitch followers and have a huge giveaway because of that. And that's so cool. That brings new people into your community. That, you know, helps the people that have been there for a while. You know, it gives you an opportunity to give back and show that you really appreciate that support. And for Wargaming to help you do that is really cool and means they are trying to work with you. But maybe that is just an empty help now that we know what's going on behind the scenes a little bit better. But since I'm not a CC, I didn't get those, right? My Twitch has over 10,000 followers as well. Thank you very much, guys. And the YouTube is, I think, over 23,000 at this point. That's insane. It's barely been a year of YouTube and that. Seriously, thank you guys. But I'm not here to complain about that. I'm just saying there are benefits to being in the CC program. And that would be some of it, right? So for the creators that are leaving, big and small, it is a sacrifice. That is the point I'm trying to get across here. And so it is a bigger deal than maybe you think if you thought the CC program wasn't all that valuable anymore. It is still something. So to those who left, all I can say is well done, and I support you. Truly, well done. Thank you for showing your support for the community and not just bending over and letting Wargaming do whatever they want to, because that's just easier, right? You get bonuses, you get all these little perks here and there, and you don't have to deal with the consequences of not being a CC, right? We don't know how Wargaming's going to react to this, but it could get as bad as Wargaming doing some false DMCA claims. We don't know how far Wargaming is willing to go with these kind of things, so there could be some takedowns. Not legally, right? You're not really allowed to write DMCA takedowns like that if you are using fair use and all that kind of stuff, which I would argue that commentary over something is. But, I mean, the laws in that are pretty new, and internet law is pretty hard to understand properly and get out of malicious and fraudulent takedowns like that. It's very, very difficult. That's why, for example, I just full stopped putting music on my live streams, because I just don't want to have the possibility of worrying about that. But you can see companies like Nintendo, you know, writing DMCA takedowns for people who want to stream or watch their games and putting them up on YouTube. There's huge backlash over that, but Nintendo hasn't really backed down all that much. So it'd be a little scary if Wargaming starts to do that if they don't like the way the entire community of creators is going. So I don't want to put that idea in Wargaming's mind so they do that. I'm just wanting to say that maybe this is a potential that they could go to. We don't know what lengths they are willing to go to, because clearly they're willing to do some pretty bad stuff. So A little bit scary, that kind of thing. Now on to the whole community witch hunt and uproar and pitchforks and all that stuff. I think this is pretty scary stuff when people on the internet get really, really passionate about something like this. And there's a lot of anger and frustration, and a lot of that ends up as harassment and harassing the wrong people. The people that you're maybe even trying to support sometimes are the people getting harassed by this angry mob. So seriously, guys, anyone harassing current CCs and other content creators, anybody making content about this game, you're a really large part of the problem with online communities and maybe the way Wargaming sees the community as just a net negative or something that they don't want to really interact with all that much, because that is truly, truly horrible. Personally, I think that also somewhat extends to community managers. They're really just kind of caught in the crossfire of Wargaming making bad decisions and then putting them out on the front lines and saying, all right, now go handle that for us. Community managers, I think, would be a very, very, very tough job to do. So maybe cut them a little bit of slack. They do still work for Wargaming. They still get paid by Wargaming, but maybe they're in a situation where they have to keep that job because of the way the current job climate is due to COVID and other things. So there are probably some other reasons, and it's not the community managers making these decisions. You gotta remember that. It's the higher ups. It's someone that you have no access to. You have no way of communicating with them at all. And that's the person who is making these decisions. So I know that doesn't sound all that great to just be like, well, who do we talk to? What do we say? But remember, there are people around this too. And I think we need to direct the frustration in a constructive way towards the people who are really, really responsible. I think that just the amount of turnover in the community manager position really does show you how hard that job is, right? There are so many new faces all the time in the community manager role, and it just keeps going and going and going. It's either they get tired of all the backlash they have to deal with, or they're just set as a scapegoat and fired, right? It is a rough job, I think. So keep that in mind when you are so angry and wanting to lash out at something. Maybe take a step back and think, is this person really responsible? But as a side note, maybe it's not even the developers, right? Because you gotta remember, everybody has a boss. And maybe the people making the decisions in Wargaming are not the developers, like the game devs working on game mechanics. What if it's the financial department? Everything runs through the financial side, and it's all designed to make as much money as possible. So the developers might even know what's good for the game to make a good and fun game. Obviously, they did a pretty good job 6 years ago when the game came out, because, I mean, I've been playing all that time. It started off as a really fun game. Maybe they do know what they're doing, but they're just not capable of doing it because everything has to run through the financial side, and that's the side making decisions at this point. I'm not saying that's the case, but it is either with the developers or the managers of this game with regards to money or the gameplay. So that's who we need to at least try and get a constructive message to. I'm not sure if that's possible, but it would be really, really nice if we were able to do that as a community. But in conclusion, if a little TLDR, just don't harass or spread hate to anyone creating content for the game. Seriously, don't. Doesn't matter if they're in the CC program, they choose to leave the CC program, or if they choose to stay in the CC program. You don't know their situation. Maybe they do need those extra little bonuses to help them get by, that kind of thing. Also, please don't hate people that have just never been a part of the CC program. I haven't seen much of it, but at least in my comments section, there's a couple where I don't know why you're after me about this whole needing to leave the CC program. I've never been a part of the CC program. All right, like, how am I supposed to leave if I've never been there? All right, I support these people, obviously, right? You can see my Yukon video on the whole drama surrounding that. I was pretty supportive, I think, of Little White Mouse and Shibitsu there, but I can't do a symbolic leaving because I was never a part of it to begin with, right? So imagine now what somebody who's actually a part of the CC program would be getting from just random people, maybe even people that haven't even watched them before, right? They have no idea who they are, their situation. They just see CC and they think shill, no backbone, harassment, 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 harassment. And maybe that CC needs to stay in the CC program for a couple reasons or others, but really there's no point in harassing that person. They're not the ones making the decisions to ignore the community and treat Little White Mouse and other community contributors that way. They're potentially even the people getting treated poorly by Wargaming, and now you, in an attempt to support the community contributors who are getting treated poorly by Wargaming, you're harassing one of the people that is actually getting treated poorly by Wargaming. You're harassing someone who's actually a victim of Wargaming's horrible treatment, someone you're trying to support. So consider that. I'm not even a CC and I'm getting these, so imagine somebody who actually is a part of the CC program. Now, I'll be honest, I did want to be a part of the CC program in the past. I thought the benefits would be great, and I knew that the feedback wasn't listened to at all. My goal was to get into the CC program so that I would have those early access to ships, and I'd be able to put out the video on that NDA date, right, where you were able to release a video. I think that would help my channel grow, and I won't lie, it is nice to have videos that do well and make a little bit of money off of that. That is really cool. I'm trying to go to school at the moment, and having this help pay for school is a really, really cool thing, because I really enjoy making videos, I enjoy producing content, and for that to help me to go to school and help my future, I think that is such an amazing opportunity, right? So having that to go a little bit better would be cool, and that was one of the reasons I wanted to get into the CC program, because otherwise I have to spend money to buy a lot of these premium ships to make a review on. And yeah, I can justify it by saying, okay, a couple of my other videos will help pay for that, and then this helps my channel grow, and you know, there's a whole business expense end to that if you want to call this a business, right? But I gotta say, I'm done. I don't think I'm gonna do that anymore. I don't think there's much point in me even buying these ships just to review them and maybe tell you how they are. As nice as it is that I can give you my opinion on whether a ship's good or not, I just don't think we as a community, or myself, I guess I'll just speak for myself. I'm not going to talk for people. For myself, it's enough, man. I need to stop spending money, even in little bits like that, to make videos, because Wargaming sees the money coming in and thinks, oh, we're just doing a fine job because people are still spending money. So I am going to not spend any more money on Wargaming in World of Warships, World of Warships Legends. As you know, I've been playing the console game as well. Gonna be done spending money there as well. There's a few sales to get some interesting things there, but no. Until they make big changes, I will stop spending money on Wargaming. That is it. I'm gonna play ships that I enjoy. I'm gonna enjoy the ships that I do have, because at this point I do have quite a lot of them. And I'm gonna make videos on those, and I'm gonna try and make constructive, positive, interesting, fun, entertaining content on those ships that I do have. And I gotta be honest, I was really looking forward to this new patch, 10.7, with secondaries coming back a little bit. Well, I've already made a couple videos on them, and they're really, really fun, and I was enjoying that. And I got some very interesting, weird builds I want to test out, and I was thinking, oh, this is going to be great. I'm going to have a bunch of positive content to put on my YouTube channel, so it's not just this dreary, this game is horrible right now, CVs suck, they're no fun to fight against, submarines are coming into the game, they suck, they're boring, it's no fun, right? I don't want to just create content like that. I want to at least have some positive content and some real content, right? And that's where this video is. Sometimes you got to make a real video talking about real issues. Some of you may wonder why I didn't actually get into the CC program, and the honest answer is I was an arrogant jerk and I didn't deserve to get in. That is how I have been in the past, in this game especially. I had quite the ego, even as short as like 6 months ago. I had a very inflated, large ego, this Super Unicum Battleship tournament winner guy who knows everything better than everyone else and therefore should be listened to and therefore deserves to get into the CC program. I did not go about that in the right way at all, and I regret a lot of the things that I've done already in the short 1 year of doing YouTube and 3 years of doing Twitch. I've definitely made a lot of mistakes, but, well, if you want to see one of them, look at the first maybe 3 to 5 minutes of the CVs are a problem video. I think that can pretty clearly tell you what the headspace I was in. I was very egotistical, arrogant, and toxic, not willing to listen to anyone, and not very inclusive at all. So I think that pretty clearly sums up why I didn't get into the CC program. I am working on changing. I am trying to do better. I don't want to be a toxic person. I don't want to be a toxic part of a community. I am trying to do better, but of course, change comes over time, and as we all know very clearly from this situation, words only mean so much. At a certain point, action. And that's what I've been trying to do, is show with action. And I think my last couple months of content has started to show that change, and hopefully will continue. So in the future, I think I will keep playing World of Warships. I still enjoy parts of this game. I won't lie, there are parts that I don't enjoy, and that's why I don't play the game all the time. I think it's healthy to play other games, and you may see some of those other games on this channel in the future, but the goal will be to make good, entertaining, informative, constructive videos that I've been doing, and hopefully you enjoy. So thank you for listening. This is a bit of a long talking video. Unfortunately, not a lot of gameplay or how to use these new secondaries, or maybe some of the healing builds that I've been running that are pretty fun. But we'll get into that next week, don't you worry. If you want to know more, you just want to ask me some questions, I will be live streaming on Twitch when this video goes up. So that'll be tonight. I'll be live streaming for a little bit. We can talk about this whole situation. You can ask me questions, and maybe we'll play some games and have a good time. So thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great day.